Morning, Rucker.
Morning, Polly.
Like, before we get started, hang on one second.
Here we go.
Very important. Big fan.
Huge fan. What number cup is this?
Probably 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think you've had probably one or two since I got here, so
Yeah,
I
that
believe it.
makes sense.
Yep.
So what do you want to talk about today?
So as we were discussing different things to talk about, I think it's forecasting. Obviously, this time of year, you're midway through the year, trying to figure out, are you going to hit your yearly forecast? What you started the year with is not where we're at. So yeah, how do we adjust? How do we get there? Just overall planning, being able to hit your objectives, being able to hit your forecast. What does it take to put a month together to keep a year going midway through the year?
Yeah, perfect. I love this topic. We were bouncing a few ideas around. As you know, we don't prep for these.
No.
We just kind of sit down and go, what do you want to talk about? And then we kind of start talking. Love that, right? We're coming through to, can you believe it's June?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
mean, June,
crazy.
midway through the year. Some stores in the group that we work for are on pace and some are not. So let's talk about, okay, so let's say you're not. What does it take to get to where you need to be? And I feel like we could talk for hours about what goes into forecasting and what you should talk about and what you should look at. I think there's 3 big ones. In my opinion, there's 3 big ones. And as you know, because we talk every day a lot, my big 3, so I'd like to talk about and then break them down.
Absolutely.
Okay. So first one, well, the 3 are people. Do you have the right people? And we'll go into that. Inventory. Do you have the right inventory? And then the last one is appointments. Are you setting enough appointments to set up your day?
Yeah.
Right. So we'll dive into that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with the first one, people. I believe that the national average at a dealership is like about 12 sales per salesperson. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
11 points, whatever.
Yeah. No, I'm sure there's
Yeah.
a point in there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you forecasted 100 cars, do you have enough people to get to 100 if the average is 12?
Right.
I start right there, and sometimes people go, no, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start there.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's there's a lot of different mindsets and it's hard, especially running a dealership. You look at your managers and you really break it down by department. So, selling 100 cars, but when you look at a dealership, we're talking about service. Do we have enough technicians? Do we have enough advisors? You look at the body shop. Do I have enough bays? Do I have enough people in every department, whether it's a body tech or a painter? And then you look at the parts department, right? Do you sell more parts in June? Do you sell more parts in January? Do we have enough counter people, pickers, whatever it might be? So I really look at each one of my managers and make sure, because again, 12, depending on the brand, right? If it's a high-end luxury, maybe
Maybe it's
it's
5.
right. If it's a high volume brand, maybe it's more. Going through and going back through your past history too. Depending on how your dealership's built, you may want more or less. You may want to spend more time with your customers or less time with your customers. The average, the 12, is a fantastic place to
To
start.
start.
And again, when you're looking at a salesperson selling 12 cars, how many days does it take them to sell a car if they're only selling 12, right? So, typically that's, one every 2 days, 2.5 days, depending on how many days that they're working. So, look at that transaction period. It's easy to go back to sales, but how long does it take to complete an RO? How long does it take to complete a car in the body shop? And find out what that looks like in each individual department so that we have enough people for each of the departments.
I couldn't agree with you more. Okay, so now let's pretend that we say, okay, we need 100 sales out of this department, new cars, and then we need 100 used cars. Do you have the right amount of people? Do your math for your store's average. Once you get that, okay, I have the right amount of people. Do you have the right ones? Do you have the people that should be in sales? Sales isn't for everybody. And then are they trained? Okay, so now I have the right amount of people. I know they're the right people and they're trained properly. Once and only when you get to there, are you ready on your floor?
Yes.
Right? You can't do all the other stuff. How many appointments do we have? Well, if you don't have the right amount of people and the right people, you're not going to have the right amount of appointments.
Correct.
Right? So even if you had the right amount of inventory, that's why it's the first of the big 3.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And to your point, the training part, right? Are you sending them off site? Do you need to do daily training, weekly training? The people part, I'm glad that we went down this road, because it's not about how many you have, because again, you need the 8-car guy and you need the 20-car gal, and that average is in there because again, some dealerships, I've got to have all, 20 car people. I only want the best, but you really need that mix in there. If you've got the right management staff, you have the right processes, nobody falls through the cracks. You still find a solution for every client that walks through the door. So making sure that you've got that holistic approach with training is
Yeah.
a fantastic point.
For sure. And, I get an opportunity to go to a few different stores
Yeah.
throughout a week, for instance. And it's funny you mentioned that, because when you walk into a store, you can see the high volume person. You can see the low volume person. It's pretty glaring. The second you walk in the door,
Yeah.
right? The busy gal that you're talking about, the sales gal that you're talking about, is on the phone. She's cranking. She's not even making eye contact with anybody. She's talking, looking at her computer. She's talking on the phone. And then you got the other guy that may need a little bit more training,
Yeah.
that you're referring to, because he's wondering what lunch is and it's 10 o'clock in the morning, right?
Right.
You can see that from a mile away. But where I see a lot of dealership or management staffs, in my opinion, where I see them slip or fail in certain ways, is they train right out of the gate. Here's what we're about. Here's the keys. Let me show you where the bathrooms are.
Yeah.
You want to know where the cars are? Let me show you.
Yep.
Right. And then they pump them up and they got them going. And then a week goes by and they forget about Sally.
Yeah.
They forget about Johnny, and they wonder what's going on. I can't believe they're not doing a great job. You have to truly coach, teach, and mentor them every single day, not once a week or once a month, where you can maybe, with the veterans, you can maybe spend some time with them on a weekly basis, once a week, versus daily with the new people. So, you hire 3 people and only one of them make it. Whose fault is that? And I don't have enough people on the floor. That's because 2 of them left. You didn't spend enough time with them.
Yeah.
And I feel like we spend a lot of our time wasted as managers forgetting to coach people,
Yeah.
because you think you don't have time. Well, that actually made more time on your schedule, because now you got to hire 2 more people and start all over. So it's, again, back to the people thing. Once you get your people the right amount and they're all trained, you got the right ones, man, does that take a lot of time off your plate.
It does. And as you're talking about people, it reminds me of something that we do in the middle of the year, and it's a good kind of catch-all. At the end of the year, you're so busy, training kind of takes a backseat, right? Everybody's sales ramp up towards the end of the year. Your focus goes 100% to sales. Hiring kind of slows down, training kind of slows down. It just goes all to clients, transactions, stats. And then you get to January and February and you go, okay, this is our training period. We're gonna get everybody back to exactly where we want them. This middle of the year is a very tough time for dealerships because you're already in the flow. Kids are out of school, vacations are in full swing, people are coming and going. It's really easy to lose your momentum in the middle of the year. So that's why I like us doing our competitions in the middle of the year. So we do the walk around competition with the sales staff, and then we do the service walk around competition to keep the service side going too. So it's building upon that each year, but it's a great middle of the year thing that we like to do that seems to kind of reset level, gives a sense of competition. It gives,
Yeah.
the manufacturers aren't typically doing gigantic sales or incentives in the middle of the year. They kind of know it's kind of that in between time. We're not ramping up, we're not slowing down. So I really like that, and adding the service side to it this year. We've talked about it for 2 years, and this is the first year that we're doing it. So very excited, and we allow the sales staff to join the service one, and we allow the service one to join the sales one, and then the interns that we have, which is a whole nother topic for a different day, but even the interns are allowed to jump in. I think it's that humbling piece of, it's a very basic part of what we do,
Yes.
but it's an easy one to train for. It's an easy one to perfect. And again, if you've got that, you've got the basic, the foundation, it really gives you a great jumping point for the rest of the year to continue to build off of.
Couldn't have said that any better. We agree 1,000%. Recently, I've been thinking, okay, how do I relate this to service? Does service have a forecast?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but do we talk about when everybody thinks forecast, everybody thinks sales? Yes.
Yeah.
For the most part,
Yeah.
not you as a general manager,
No.
you're running the whole store, but the majority of the people anywhere, if you said forecast at a dealership, they think number of sales. That's one tiny piece of a forecast.
Oh yeah.
But that's what everybody
100%.
thinks about. So let's think about service for a second. Could you figure out how many, if you have a forecast, I use my 100 grand number. It's just the easiest number. I know for your store, that's not a good
round.
example, but
Yeah.
we're going to do it anyways.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
nice and round, easy to divide.
Nice and
Yeah.
round number, 100 grand. If you knew your average dollar gross per RO that your store does, which you can figure out pretty quickly.
Yep.
If you knew your average per RO, could you figure out how many ROs per day you need to get to your forecast?
Absolutely.
Okay. So then if you could say, okay, how many average RO does one advisor do? Could you figure back into how many advisors you need? You follow me? This
Yep.
isn't just a variable operation forecast. The fixed side can do the same thing. Do you have the right amount of people? Do you have the right advisors? Are they going to do videos? Are they going to do walkarounds? Are they going to be make follow-up phone calls? Are they going to be making blind phone calls? All the same things that the salespeople are doing. You do know the advisors are doing the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we could do the same thing and break it down in service. So if you're a fixed ops person and you're listening to our show, I hope you are. This relates to you just like it does on the sales side,
Yeah.
right?
And the one thing that I want to stress is, especially as we do the fixed side, it's called fixed for a reason, right? It's a little easier to forecast because the metrics are a little more exact than it is on the variable side. A good common practice would be, repitching your forecast to yourself, because especially in the service side, they're looking at days and tech hours and bays. I mean, you built this forecast, hopefully with the owner or the general manager. You had an idea when you went into it. You knew how many vacations were coming up. You knew how many hours were going to be lost. All of your techs had 1.3 bays each, because you've got some that are one, some that are two.
Once in a while,
Yeah.
that's three.
But one that's three. And so you had all that together.
Sure.
If your staff is not the same as it was when you did that forecast, you may be off a couple of bays. You may have added an extra tech or lost a tech to retirement. Something could have happened. So you need to make those adjustments, because, again, everything else stayed the same. Only the variable pieces of your department changed. So somebody's out on sick leave. It's, whatever it might be. What you forecasted is absolutely not what's going on in your shop. So again, you take it back to that's how I do it,
Mhm.
because it came up the variable side. But again, if you're, use that variable piece and that fixed piece to come up with a solution too, because again, you know, for the advisors, they probably think more RO count. For the managers, for the techs, they're probably thinking hours, and they're thinking,
100% they
how
are.
many bays do I have?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
just another,
Keep going. Body shop.
yeah,
You are the most involved general manager I've ever met in my life in the body shops. So I'm going to go down the body shop road
yeah,
because I love your thought process and your thinking about body shops. Because
yeah.
how many body shops, if anybody listening out there, how many of you have a body shop attached to your main store? Probably very few. So you know what happens? Inevitably, not intentionally, you forget about them. They're on an island. You don't focus. Yep, you call them for sure. You guys send text for it, maybe an email, but do you go there and spend time there? And then let's talk about this people thing at the body shop. Do you know how many, do you have a forecast at your body shop? So if you figure out how many drop offs you had, can you bet, and what your average dollar amount, gross dollar amount is per drop off? Can you figure out how many drop offs you need per day? You know where I'm going with
Oh,
this.
yeah.
How many ROs do I need to write a day? How many drop offs do I need a day? How many appointments in the sales size do I need per day? All this, you have to have the right amount of people, and you have to back into it, because most people I talk, hey, how many advisors, how many writers do I need in the service? Whatever question I ask about the people go, I'd say probably 7. No, I'm not kidding. That's the answer I get.
Yeah.
That's the almost every time answer I get. So in other words, you don't know. You're guessing. So you came up with a forecast number to give to your owner, and you're not sure how many people you need. That's an alarming factor to me. So that's why I wanted to start with people. If you tell me you need blank amount of people, tell me why. I believe you. Tell me why. And if you can't tell me why, now I don't believe you, right? And it wasn't a bad thing. It's just, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. I can do the same thing in parts. If we look at parts, first of all, does the service department and body shop department affect what your parts department is going to forecast? I mean, big time.
Major.
So major. So if your parts manager is not sitting with the service and body shop manager before their forecast, how are they going to know what they're going to do and how many people they need? All goes back to people. I keep
100%.
going back to people, right?
Yeah.
So
It,
I know I'm going
no,
crazy on the
no.
people part, but I think it's the most important part.
100%. And it's scary to think that some forecasts are just 5% increase because that's what the industry is going to do, or 3%, or inflation was, so that's what I'm going to adjust it. And it's, I now that I was able to grow a manager into a general manager, the phone calls that we would do every single morning. Now I'm having with somebody else. And it's funny because he has a body shop and he has a service department, and he has a parts department. And it's so cool to watch that growth and to hear and to bounce ideas back and forth because again, a lot of general managers come up the variable side and it's relating it back to what you know and what you're familiar with. And it's so fun to watch his confidence because again, the body shop, that was his main thing too. He's like,
Mhm.
we did so good with the body shop. Like, how did you see the growth? Where were you able to grow your monthly numbers so that you could get back to forecast? Body shops, especially, the world just comes at you. It's hard to move a body shop,
Mm.
and it's so funny to watch that and to hear that. But it works exactly the same. Excuse me.
No, you're fine.
But the exact same thing. How many, to your point, drop-offs are you getting? But what leads to a drop-off? An estimate. So how do you get your estimates? Well, at this point now we're looking at how many phone calls do we need to be getting? How many insurance shops do we need to visit? Looking at rental car companies and all these different outside resources to be able to bring in. They now track every single thing that they do for
Yeah.
inputs so that they can measure their output. So it's just cool, especially if you're a used car manager, new car manager, GSM, trying to get into that GSM or general manager role. Take what you know and build off of it. Same with
Mhm.
service. We're all so similar and so connected, even on the service side. You're already measuring phone calls. You're already measuring ROs and hours per RO and dollars per
PLR.
RO. Be there.
Mhm.
Take what you know. And because I think the most important part of hitting the forecast is what you said, bringing everybody together, talking about it. How do we influence each other, right?
Mhm.
If I don't have enough counter people, how does it affect my sales? And most people don't think that way. And that's the biggest part of hitting a forecast. It's not being the smartest person in the room, it's having enough opinions and views
Yep.
to get there as well.
Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, if you think about it, if you go to a body shop and say, "Hey, we're slightly we're below forecast. We're not pacing where we need to be." You know what most body shop managers will tell you?
Businesses.
Yeah, no, it's slow everywhere, boss.
Yeah.
Cross the state. Whew,
Yeah.
terrible. Okay, so what are you doing to change that? Well, we're hoping it picks back up. Deer season's coming and winter. We get a little crashes in the winter. Stop it. You alluded to it earlier because we're talking about people and you didn't go deep dive into it. See how we squirrel a lot, by the
Yeah,
way?
it happens.
Yeah, we do squirrel. How many insurance companies are you visiting? The answer should be all of them. If any insurance company in a 15, 20-mile radius minimum of your store has not been visited, what's your plan to go see them, right? And talk to the people literally face to face. Bring them a donut. I don't care what you bring them. Say,
Yeah.
hey, bring a smile. We're your local body shop. So when your clients call you, say, hey, need a claim number, got an accident, hit a deer, whatever it is, they're saying, hey, go see my friends over at your dealership,
Yeah.
right? So make sure it's not just a, yeah, it's slow. Yeah, it's because in sales, if we were behind in sales, we would all freak out. We wouldn't say, yeah, no, people just aren't buying cars anymore. Yes, they are. They're going to work.
Yeah.
We would do something to fix it, right? So back to that people thing, we can get off this one because I think
Yeah. Yeah.
we're going to
No.
the second one. But if you don't have the right amount of people and the right people, so it's not just the right amount, it's the right amount, the right people, and train them properly and keep training them in each department: new cars, used cars, parts, service, body shop, your office, title clerks. I mean, we could keep going down the range.
Oh,
Porters, if you don't have the right ones, the right amount, and they're not trained, you're probably going to fail. Okay, so that's number one.
yeah.
That's number two: inventory. We're
Yes.
going to talk about inventory. And it's not just sales.
Right.
We're going to talk about, does parts have inventory?
Yes, they
Right.
do.
So we're going to talk what is inventory for service and body shop. We're going to talk about those for a second. The inventory piece of it is so important. It's not funny. And I don't care what manufacturer you're talking about. If you don't have the right amount of inventory on your grounds or the right ones in the pipeline and the right amount in the pipeline, you're not going to hit any of these forecast things you're talking about.
Right.
Right. So let's talk about inventory for a few minutes.
100%. And this goes back to how you forecast it is probably not how it's going. And you look at inventory on, right now we're talking about tariffs and anything else, right? It could have been COVID, could have been strikes, could have been any number of things that we've seen through the years. It could have been, remember when gas prices spiked, right? We all had SUVs and trucks on the lot. Customers weren't buying them and we didn't have enough small SUVs and sedans. So we had the inventory, we had the wrong inventory. So,
Mhm.
middle of the year is one of those times, right? It doesn't matter if you're in an election year, out of an election year, it doesn't seem to really matter anymore, right? There's all sorts of different movement that causes it, right? When it comes to parts, the strikes have hit us before, tariffs are affecting us. There's lots of different things that can create these issues. The cargo ship that got stuck in the canal. I mean, never in a million years. We're seeing so many new things influencing our daily business that we could have never guessed. You're telling me one ship turning sideways in a canal shuts the whole parts distribution down? Not possible. No, it happened.
Nope, it's true.
I mean, it just,
Yep.
when you think about all the things that can go wrong and affect it, forecasting,
Hurt your brain.
yes, forecasting is a guess. It's an educated guess at best, but you have to be able to adjust along the way, find the solutions. And again, not enough inventory is just as bad
It's too much.
as too much inventory.
Ooh, I was gonna go there.
Yeah,
You just jumped out of me.
take it.
I was gonna say, Ruck, is not enough inventory bad? You were gonna say yes,
Yeah.
by the way. And then I was gonna say, is too much inventory bad? And you were gonna go, ooh, yes. That was in my head when you were talking. That's so funny. To your point, and I'll give you an example. Stellantis. Stellantis said, hey, dealers out there, and I'm not just talking about the ones we're associated with, I mean all of them. We need you to take all these units. Promise you it's gonna be the right move. It's gonna be amazing. And then they stopped putting programs in all the cars that they had the dealers take. And I'm talking lot of inventory.
Yeah.
What happens when an inventory ages?
It's expensive.
It's more expensive than when you and then here's the funny part. When people finally sell one of those aged pieces, I hear things like, and this was a few weeks ago at this point,
Yeah.
and you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
A manager said to me, we made blank amount of dollars on this aged car. Told ya. Did you? Did you make that amount on that car? That's the kind of stuff, because of all the different factors that
Yeah.
go into an expensive a vehicle,
Yeah.
that people don't realize. Not enough inventory, really bad problem. Way too much inventory, really bad problem.
Yeah.
You got to have the right amount of inventory. And it all goes, in my opinion, it all goes down to a day supply.
Yeah.
You have to have the right day supply on your lot, right? Dealer day supply. You see the DDS thing,
Yeah.
dealer day supply. In your opinion, because the factory will give me an answer to this question.
Yeah.
And Andrew Ruck will give me an answer to this question.
Yeah.
And I think I know the answers to the both, but I'm going to ask you anyways. In Andrew Ruck's opinion, what should a dealer day supply look like on average? We can argue different pieces. On average, what should a dealer day supply be?
Yeah, I would love to argue that actually, but so
Let's do it.
for me it's 60 days only because it fluctuates too much, right? We were just looking at NADA stats and Cox Automotive stats, and even they had different stats for it. And it was interesting to me because the manufacturer is always going to have more. Although, how many do they think we should have now?
Well, here's the thing. The manufacturer, before you go there, do you think the manufacturer's DDS number, dealer day supply number, is less than what you just said or more than what you just said?
What they want us to have?
Huh?
Theirs is more,
Yeah, a lot more.
typically.
Yes, they want minimum of a 75-day supply.
Right.
Their real answer is a 90-day supply.
Yeah.
Let me get deeper. Do you believe the amount of interest credits for the manufacturers that you work for, the amount of credits or interest expense credits that you get to offset your interest expense, is it more or less than the number you're asking, the number you're proposing, the 60-day supply? Do you get more days in interest credits or less days than 60?
Run mine so that it's about the same. So depending on your
It's a
interest
wash.
rate and,
Mhm.
and so forth, it should be washed. So I think both of us should have the same opinion that if you want a 90-day, just give me a 90-day supply of interest credits. So that would be, pick the number. I don't care.
Yeah.
But the interest, and there's still more expense than just interest. Again, that's the
It's the big
major
one.
one that most people pay attention to. So you could probably get all of us to take more cars if we just get the interest credits to match what the expectations are.
Let's go down that road. What other expenses do we incur on an older vehicle on the new car side?
Well, I mean, you could have
'Cause we're going to
curtailments
talk about used.
if they're too
That's the
old.
one I'm thinking of.
But there's just the cost that we have to insure the cars, right? Cars will get damaged. You're going to have your lot damage, your policy work, and then just in general things just happen. I mean, batteries die because you didn't move it. That's the car that got forgot. Rodents, if you're in a city, it happens too. But
Mhm.
there's the natural, the 1% rule that's going to happen. And when a car is here for 2 months, now it's a 2% roll. When it's here for three, now it's a 3% roll.
Mhm.
The likelihood of something happening or costing money just goes up.
Yeah, 100% it does. And the creepy part is, thinking back to when I was, going through my career.
Yeah.
And I remember being a new car manager. It was kind of towards the beginning of being a new car manager. And the general manager at the time would be so angry if we sold a car that just hit. He would be so mad. And we had this big book and had invoices, and we had like sheets for them where we could flip through this
Yeah, the
big book,
invoice
the
book. Yeah.
invoice book. And if you went to the front of the book to sell a car, you better have a really good
Yeah.
reason, right? And I thought, who cares? It's a white widget.
Whatever. Yeah.
So what? And then when I got through my career, I'm like, oh, that's why he's so mad at that.
Yeah.
Right. Now I get that, right?
I
Your
understand now.
aged inventory. I mean, you think about it, we're in the middle of 2025.
Mhm.
How many dealers out there have 23 new car? We haven't been to used, by the way. We haven't been to parts. We're still on new car inventory.
Right.
How many dealers out there have 23s on the ground? How many dealers out there have 24s on the ground? Probably all of them. But
Yeah.
I'm like that. Those vehicles, if you don't have them on your showroom floors, on the pads, windows down, radios on, big, huge flashing fingers saying, buy this one, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You need to get rid of those right now.
Yeah.
And it's not just the interest credits that we're talking about, their
Right.
interest expense, excuse me. You talk about curtailments. When that vehicle hits a year old, now your cash flow starts getting affected on a daily basis because of curtailments.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different episode. I won't go crazy on that one.
Yeah.
But then you just talk about lot damage. A vehicle that just came off the lot, battery's pretty good. Okay. Well, I'll give you a better example. In the winter, when we go to move cars,
Right.
all
Find them all.
we find every one of them when we have to move them to plow,
Yeah.
and we put the wiper blades up. Hey, this one's battery's dead. This one won't start. If those were the new cars, the fresh inventory on the ground, the car was started.
Yes.
It's the ones that have been there a while that don't start. Now, how much does it cost on average to replace a battery? Bad example. No, but you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you right now, guys and gals, the 60-day turn, everybody thinks about days supply and turn rate for used cars, and we're going to get into that in a minute, obviously.
Yeah.
But not many people talk about it in new.
Right.
And doggone it, it can be actually more. On a typical dealership's lot, do you have more new car inventory or more used car inventory? By a lot, not by a little, by a lot. Most dealerships, domestic. I'm talking domestic for a minute.
I would guess new.
New cars, I'm telling you right now, has more inventory. The dealership that you're at specifically, 3-1.
Yeah.
Okay. My point of that is we're focused on the one. We're hardly focused on the 3. Your store, not this case.
Yeah.
You're very uberly involved in
Yeah.
your inventory and your day supply.
Yeah.
I'm talking about most dealerships.
sure.
So if you're not looking at your inventory, you're in big trouble. Let's talk about the used car side.
Yep.
Because when I think, the first thing I think when I think about inventory on used is it not just how much do we have? Is it ready? Does it look right? On a new car side, gets off a truck, you prep it, and you put it on the lot. Used car comes in. What goes in play to get a used car ready to put on your lot?
Yeah, all of it. You've got to service the vehicle. Again, at that point, there's parts involved. So whether you're broken parts, worn out parts, now you've got parts delays. Then you've got to get it detailed. New cars, maybe you clean them, maybe you don't. You don't really need to, but detail takes time. Then you got to photograph them. A lot of new car departments, so you use AI photos now. So you missed an entire step that we used to do that you don't need to do. Used cars, they're unique. They're individual pieces of inventory. No two cars are the same. The scratches aren't in the same spot. The damage is in the same spot. The shine isn't as shiny on one versus the other. So they all have to go through an individual reconditioning process, and it just takes time. If you're awesome at it, it's 3 days. If you're an average dealership, it's 8 or 9. And if you're terrible, it's the entire time the car was for sale. It's everything in between.
It's so true.
But it happens, right? Unfortunately, it's just a part of the business, and that money is tied up, right? We talked about the cost of owning a car and the damage and everything else. The holding cost, it starts the second you buy the car. The money is tied up, and now it costs you to own that car every day, whether it's for sale, lot ready, visible for a customer to come in and take a test drive. It costs money if it's owned by you.
Could not agree with you more. And every single day, we break this down, don't we? What is our average day? What is our cost per day to hold, or holding costs? You alluded to it.
Yeah.
To hold that used car on your ground before you sell it. And think about this. If your average per day is, I don't call it $70 a day to hold that car.
Right.
And it takes you 10 days to get it lot ready. You're $700 into that car, cost-wise. You didn't even have it for sale yet. That's the kind of stuff that makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, it's
So this is where I believe most dealerships leave a lot, not a little, a lot of money on the table. We're
mhm,
talking about inventory. Are in the used car specifically, is it ready?
right,
Okay. We haven't even talked about the how many do you have?
right.
Because my number is not the same. In Paul Jordan's eyes, the number of dealer day supply, DDS, on a used car is different than new.
Yeah,
My number is actually lower.
yeah,
Okay. I don't want a 60-day supply on the ground
right.
in used cars. Okay. That means my turn is 6. We better be turning it more than 6.
Yeah,
Because remember, I don't have interest credits to offset my interest expense, do I, in used cars?
correct.
How many interest credits do you get per month on your used car inventory?
None of them.
Okay. So then we need to
Right.
talk about this more
Yeah,
seriously.
yeah,
You follow where I'm going.
for sure.
So um, the right amount of cars. If I forecast well, here, let's not leave that. What do you believe? Again, these are averages.
Yeah.
What do you believe the average dealer day supply should be in your used car inventory?
Well, if you follow, all of the major, stack companies, they're going to tell you 30 days. I like to have a larger supply, but only because, it really depends. One of our general manager meetings where we had the GSMs in it, we talked about turn, and it was amazing. You want to learn a lot about your managers, ask them how turn is calculated. If they're going into their inventory management tool and just putting the number down, they have no clue how their
Mhm.
turn is calculated. So
Talk about it.
so day supply and turn pretty much
Yeah,
go
they're
go
close.
hand in hand.
Yeah.
When you look at a day supply, like I look at my inventory as a whole, retail and wholesale. During COVID, we had 800 cars on the lot, and I sold 800 cars. 300 were retail and 500
500
were
were
wholesale.
wholesale.
So we run ours a little bit differently. So my stats are always a little off, but from the retail, lot ready, retailable cars, 30 days for sure. When you look at my total inventory, it's a little off, but I like to look at wholesale too.
Okay. Darn, because I was going to try to argue with you a little bit on that. That's very close to where I would have told you to be.
Yeah.
My retail lot ready car should be 30.
Yep.
My total inventory on the ground, including subprime and wholesale, I would have told you is 45,
Right.
which is basically what you just said. You
Yeah.
just went around it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, for
I
sure.
can't argue with you on
Yeah.
that. Inventory is so crucial on the new car side and the used car side. It's not funny. If you have the right amount of people and you have the right amount of vehicles, you're 2 steps, you're crushing it. But before we leave inventory, what kind of inventory? Let's talk about inventory for your parts department.
Correct.
Is that important?
Absolutely.
Why is inventory so important in your parts department? Does your parts department know how much they should have? Do they have a system that tells them how much they should have? Does it prompt them, hey, there's been 4 asks for this part in the last 3 months. You haven't had any. Last 4 times they've asked, probably should stock a couple. Do we have systems? Nobody even talks about this, do we? I mean, we do, but are we logging our lost sales? Why do we log lost sales? Because of inventory. Think of inventory, we're talking about variable. There's inventory in the fixed ops departments. I promise you, I've seen it.
Yes.
Okay. So let's
So
talk a little bit about that.
yeah, and a lot has to do with time, right? We talk about lot ready and the importance of that. If you don't have a parts department that's stocking correctly for your major parts that are needed, you can't get your vehicles lot ready. You talk about, having enough people to hit your service goals. You have to have enough parts to hit your service goals too, because again, time, right? You put a car up on a lift and you
Hmm.
start working on it, and that part's always available. So you start working on it, you go back, you send your parts order back. They don't tell you if it's in stock or not in stock. You start working on it, you get back there. No, I don't have one of those. Well, now I can't put the car back together to get it off the hoist. So now that hoist is dead. So now your capacity is lower. Same with body shop. It's time. If it takes you 10 days to complete a car in the body shop and you don't have a good running parts department, if you don't have the parts to put on it, you can't finish the car to get it back to the customer. So we joked about, if I don't have enough counter people, how does it affect my sales department? It goes back to that. Inventory is at the center of it. But again, if I don't have enough parts employees, counter people to dissect this information, disseminate it, and make the right decisions, then you can't move forward with it. So, it is a little odd. I'm still trying to understand parts 100%, because, we talk in 12 months supplies of parts. How many of these do we end up servicing in 12 months? And some parts are shorter time frames, some parts are longer. But again, it's, do you have that part on hand? You mentioned that earlier, making sure that you're staying in that, you know, 92 to 95% is where we like to be. But again, bikes affect that. Lots
Mhm.
of different things affect that. And we've been preemptive, and a strike is coming. Strikes just don't happen, by the way.
Mhm.
They are talked about, they're
You
alluded
know they're
to. You know that they're coming. We'll buy parts ahead of time to be ready for the strike.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes you end up with too much inventory, which is not a good thing. But at the risk of not having enough, we make that decision. And then, we only pick our top 200 parts, and those are the ones that we stock up on, and we make sure that we're ready. And the good news is we just went through the strike, so we got a little bit of lull in between now and the next strike. But
Yeah. Which there
there's
will be one coming.
yeah,
Yeah.
guaranteed. We
Guaranteed.
can put it on the calendar
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
anymore. But those are the things that I pay attention to. And then of course, obsolescent parts as well. There is an aging measurement for parts, just like there is for cars.
Good call. Couldn't agree with you more. Cash on hand. Does your parts inventory affect your cash on hand?
Yes.
So does every dealer need to be cognizant of their cash on hand on a daily basis, especially the general manager?
Oh,
Are
yeah.
you looking at it every single day?
Yep.
If your parts inventory is not right, you better go look. Okay. You said too many.
Yeah.
Can we sell the parts? If we have too many parts, can we sell them? Can we
Yes.
get rid of them? Are you doing that? Are you keeping that an eye on the ball on that case? If there's a strike coming up, we're going to buy parts. Are you going to get a phone call? Hey, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Yep, you sure are. But then when
Yeah.
you explain, we've had that phone call,
Yeah.
haven't we?
Yeah, but now we tell them ahead of time.
Well, because we learned our
Yeah,
lesson
yeah,
from the first time.
yeah.
We actually bought a semi trailer and stocked it full of parts because we knew one was coming, right?
More than one.
More than one. We
Yeah.
we have a couple back there.
Yeah.
My point is inventory is not just a variable thing. And when I go store to store now, and I don't get to go to a ton, but I get to go to a few, one of my favorite questions to ask a parts counter person, not the parts manager, the parts counter person. And it makes me smile. I've been doing this for like the last month or two. I don't even think we've talked about it.
No.
I'll go into a parts department. First of all, parts managers love their inventory. They love to keep their buildings clean.
Yeah.
I mean, you walk through the parts departments I get to walk through, they're smiling.
Yeah.
Look how clean my place
No
is.
dust.
Look, no dust,
Yeah.
right? Their parts departments are beautiful. There's no windows back
Yeah.
there. So they need to find something better to do, right? And their inventory, they know exactly what their expenses are.
Yep.
They know what they have for a forecast. They're very dialed into their numbers. So I like to go to their parts counter people and say, hey, how many lost sales have you logged this week? It's one of my favorite new questions that I ask. And they
Yeah.
go, ooh, yeah. Sometimes we do that. And I'm not sure. And then when you leave, the comments that you'll get from the managers are, hey, you asked Johnny about his lost sales. You're right. He's starting to do that again. How important is logging your lost sales?
Oh,
But we talk about it once a year because we talk about forecasting. We're talking about forecasting. It comes up. And then we don't talk about it again. These are things that are so important because inventory is one of the big three, and it's not just up front. Okay.
absolutely agree.
So I know we're going crazy on
No, but
the
that's
second piece,
yeah.
right? And the third one is your appointments. Are there appointments in service?
Yes.
Are there appointments in the body shop? How about sales? New
Yes.
car? Used
Yeah.
cars? They're everywhere. Every department is appointments. And this is one of this because I talk to you a lot, right? But one of my big ones is appointments. I don't care if it takes you 100 phone calls to get to one appointment. I'm not going to say how many calls did you make today. It's very important to make phone calls. It is. My thing now is how many appointments did you set? And they don't all have to be for tomorrow. They might be for next Tuesday or next Thursday. I don't care. How many appointments did you set? Be focused on setting appointments.
Absolutely.
And then how many appointments does it take to set? How many are going to show? And then how many are you going to complete? So that being said, in the service department, is that same thing? How many appointments are set for the day?
Absolutely.
If you know I need this many ROs to come through my service department tomorrow, how many appointments do you have set? If 90% of your service appointments show, then do you have enough set up for the next day to get to your forecast? Right? So if you have the right people, if you have the right inventory, and you make the right amount of appointments, you're going to hit your forecast. There's a whole bunch of things that we can talk about. These are the big 3.
And even appointments, again, using the variable side to learn the fixed side, be careful when it comes to appointments. There's appointments in every single department. Again, we don't log them.
Love this sound.
We should put a mic just on
Just
your
on my
coffee.
coffee.
Yeah. But you want to be scared to death, go ask your body shop how many appointments they have, because that was one of the first things that I realized. We don't log them. Well, no, there is no appointment. They're just going to come in for the estimate. What time are they coming in for the estimate? It is no different than sales. They're just coming in to look at a car. Well, what time are they coming in? Well, no, they're going to come in to look at the car. They're going to come in and get their estimate. No, no, no. Set an appointment. If you're not setting appointments, you're allowing it to happen. When you set the appointment, you're making sure that it happens. So that was one of the biggest changes that we made in the body shop is we make appointments for estimates, we make appointments for drop-offs, but we also make appointments for callbacks. If a customer will not set an
Mhm.
appointment, it's no different than what we do on the sales side. Yeah, I'll be in this week. Great. What day are you going to be in? I'm not sure, but you'll be in by Wednesday probably. Yeah, but there's a chance I'll come in Thursday or Friday. Okay. Well, what I'll do is if I don't see you by Wednesday, would it be okay for me to give you a call? Yeah, just in case life gets busy. Okay. What time is best for you? Are you more available in the morning or the afternoon? Typically
I
the morning,
love that.
10:15 or 11:45. It works identical to sales.
So I was just gonna say.
And parts is one that I wouldn't think that there would be appointments, but people call in, they'll buy a battery. I'm coming in to pick it up. Great. What time do you want me to have it ready by? It's a soft appointment. You're not going to write it down, but again, probably not a bad idea on your pick ticket to write what time the customer is going to come in so that you can then move the parts around and have them available because everybody has your pick ticket shelf, but are you going to put the ones that are coming in immediately on the top shelf in the back? It's a huge part. I'm going to store it off to the side. Well, the person's going to be here in a half an hour. I'd probably move it up or get it on the hand truck or whatever is going to happen.
Mhm.
It just builds more efficiencies too. So I would just caution appointments exist everywhere. You're going to have to create them though. Like I wouldn't think of parts having an appointment. I wouldn't think of body shop as having an appointment, but you really need to force yourself to create that.
Mhm.
Because again, how do you relate each department to each other? Find something in common, relate it, and then you're going to have to kind of force it, right? I promise you, if you go back today and ask your parts department when an appointment is, they're going to be like, there's no appointments back here. But if you start showing them and
Yeah.
why it's similar and how it could be an appointment, then everybody starts talking the same language. And then it's a lot more relatable. I think the biggest part of my store coming together is that everybody speaks the same language. You don't need to know the entire vocabulary, but you need to have your Rosetta Stone, so to speak,
Yeah.
of topics that you can relate from one department to another. And that's another one that you can build to help bridge some of those gaps in those relationships.
And does what you're talking about right now, I'm just thinking in my own mind because I have a lot of customers and friends and family members in the area that'll say, hey, I'll give you an example. A buddy of mine said, I do this morning breakfast on Fridays with a group of guys.
Yeah,
Okay. And of course, they all buy cars from us. Go
exactly.
figure. Yes. So one of them said, hey, I bought a car from you a few weeks ago, this truck to pull my campers. Great. Somebody hit his wife was at a grocery store and somebody hit the side of the truck with a shopping cart. Not bad,
Yeah.
but enough to make him. Ugh. Do you have any of those touch up paints? Is there, you guys have, if I was at your parts department, do you have those touch up paint? So, of course, I'll take this to a different level. You know me.
Yeah. I'll pick up the truck.
I literally bought it and I
Oh,
sent him the paint to his house and he's like, you didn't have to do that. But my point is this, when a customer calls in and asks that question, hey, do you have paints? A parts department, first of all, most parts department, that's how they answer the phone.
or hold.
Hold,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And the customer says, hey, I bought a widget. It's from you guys, but wonder if you had touch up paint. What's the parts person say? Yep, got those. Okay, thank you. Click.
Right.
Can you imagine if you set your dealership apart
Right.
and you said, Mr. Johnson, absolutely, we carry those. In fact, here's how much they cost to buy one of those. Would you like to stop by and grab one? Would you like me to send it out to you? How do you want to go about this process? By the time most of these phone calls are dead. You listen to phone calls. Almost every parts phone call is dead after do you have it? Yep, we sure do. Or no, we don't. Click.
Yeah.
They're gone. Imagine if your dealership set yourselves apart by taking these kind of calls in your parts department to a whole nother level. If Mr. Johnson called in and said, do you have that? And you said, absolutely, we do. Would you like to stop by? And he said, I'm going I don't know what time this week. Absolutely no worries. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set a reminder for myself, Mr. Johnson. If I haven't seen you by Wednesday, is that okay if I give you a shout? Oh, no, I'll be in there tomorrow. Oh, excellent. What time you coming?
Yeah.
Or absolutely, I'm not sure what time it's going to be. Of course, you can give me a call. And then you do. You call me, hey, Mr. Johnson, remember you called me Monday about that paint? Hey, I have it still here in stock. Would it make it easier? You want me to send it to you?
Yeah.
You got a card? Can you imagine what the retention, the customer relationships that you're building with your community on these kind of phone calls? Body shop. You alluded to your body shop. Oh no, I mean, there's people drop their cars up. They're coming in for an estimate. Can you imagine if you said, what daytime works best for you this week to come in and get that estimate? I'm not sure. I'm super busy. No worries. You want me to send somebody to you? What? Hey, where do you work? Oh, you work downtown. It's about 12 minutes from here. You want me to send a guy over there? Swap your cars, bring it back when we're done with the estimate and put it back in the same parking lot. In fact, you don't even know we were there. Can you imagine if your body shops were doing that? We do that in sales, don't we?
Yes.
Do we do it in service?
Yep.
Do we do it in the body shops? That's what I'm talking about, right? Appointments. How do we make and create appointments in every department?
Well, and you just appointments are designed for efficiency, both for the dealership and for the client. The biggest issue that I had when we went down to the body shop and we were really deep diving and trying to fine tune processes, we're one of the only body shops left that give free loaner cars. The problem is it's a positive and a negative because you come down and I don't have a loaner car. I'll have one 6 weeks from now. Well, my car's wrecked now. I can't drive it today.
Right.
Like, what do I do? So looking at that, we were noticing that, yes, I need a loaner car. Great. I'll call you when I get one. They call, the car just comes back. We just cleaned it, just gassed it up, got it ready. Okay. I'll be in this week. Okay. Sounds good. And then 10 days will go by. The car's not being used. It's being held for a customer because we're nice people. And then we go 10 days without using it. Now I don't have a rental car that sits for more than hours because we set it up ahead of time. We know what day that the car's coming back. We line up the customer to be ready when it comes back. If they're not ready, we move to the next customer on the list, and then we just move them to the next one. I can't come in until Thursday. Great. I'll have a Thursday car ready for you. I'm going to call the next customer, see if I've got somebody ready for the Wednesday car, and building it that way. Because even your service rental department, because I've got one of the best ones out there, had the exact
Same
same
problem.
problem.
Yeah.
And you look at your utilization numbers and you go, well, I mean, we're using in body shops 80% utilization is great. In a service department, 90% is great. No.
What are you
Y-
talking
You
about? Yeah.
you can have a 98, 99% utilization. Your rental car should be down for service, repairs, or cleans, and that's it.
Mhm.
Any other time they should be with a customer. And if you're not setting appointments and setting firm appointments, not just the guesses, I'll be in Wednesday-ish sometime. If you're not planning it accordingly, then it's you're losing that efficiency. You've got to get from 80% in the body shop to 95. You got to get your service department from 90 to 98. And that's where the
Yeah.
growth comes in. That helps you hit your forecast.
Couldn't agree with you more. In fact, as you're talking about it, I'm thinking through, yeah, because you know where I like to park when I go to a dealership.
Yes.
I find employee parking and I go to the back and I walk all the way in and I come through service. You know my routine,
Yeah.
right? And as you're saying this, I remember your rental department. Actually, I remember her saying, "No, we'll have one in 2 weeks." And I remember going, "God, I walked by a whole row of them coming in today.
We had like
What do
60
you
that
mean
day.
2 weeks?" I remember your complexion, and
Yeah.
you have really good complexion, Rock.
Yeah.
But it started getting really red
Yeah.
when we were talking about it. And I go, oh, Rock's going to change that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I appreciate this. I really like this episode a lot.
Yeah. Too.
I didn't know where this was going.
Yeah.
And boy, do I like where it ended. Big three. Can we agree? Have the right people.
Yeah.
The not just the right ones, but the right amount.
Yeah.
And they're trained. Have the right inventory, have the right amount, and make sure they're lot ready. And then appointments. Know how many you need per day in whatever department you're in. It's not variable. We've discussed this. Whatever department you're in, have the right amount of appointments that you need on a daily basis to win the next day. If you don't leave. Make sure you don't leave. Make sure everybody in your department knows, guys, we need 21 appointments tomorrow to win, and we have 18. I don't know where y'all are packing your desks for. We got 3 more to make.
Yeah.
You do that every day in every single department, you'll hit your forecast.
You can't miss.
You can't. It's math. Calculator says you're going to hit, you're gonna.
Yeah.
If you take one day, average days, working days in a month is about 25. Okay. So just think about it. If you know what you need every single day just for appointments in whatever department you're in, if you have the right people in inventory, if you don't have those, you can't do appointments. This whole appointment thing's mute. But if you do, and you set the right amount in each department every single day, you're gonna have a great year. Your people are gonna be happy. Your owner's gonna go, "What? How'd you do that?" And you're gonna say, "Boss, we set the right amount of appointments every day." So this episode's been a great one.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites so
Absolutely.
far. Actually, I hope everybody has a deep dive into their departments that we're talking about on the big three. Text us, emails, do your close on our episodes.
So remember, if you like what you've heard, please follow and share. Leave us your thoughts for future episodes. But most importantly, if this is your first time listening, please go back to episode 1, learn what we're all about, the background on us, but most of all, just remember to like, share, and anything else that you can contribute, send to us. Again, from what Paul said, it can be anywhere from the instant messages. If you have our numbers, text us, go to the website, do the direct messages. But thank you again
Drink coffee. See you guys.
every day.